And we're live. Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of MMA and Coffee. On this episode, it's going to be a recap of UFC Fight Night, Swanson versus Lobov. Okay, I was trying not to laugh because I completely butchered the intro.
No, I'm like watching the stream. The stream's delayed anyway.
Yeah, but I went
So
to go play the intro and it was it wasn't at the beginning of the clip.
I'm not gonna have the stream up because it's gonna throw me off.
Okay, that's fine.
So anyway,
All right, so the first fight we're going to talk about is Jake Ellenberger versus Mike Perry. We didn't do a prediction for this fight. If we had, I would have said most likely Ellenberger would have gotten knocked out just because he hasn't looked as good in his recent fights. I mean, he did catch Matt Brown, but before that, he was training with Edmund. He had lost several times. He seemed timid, gun shy. Like he just didn't seem like the same fighter at all. So going in against a young guy who's a knockout artist, I definitely was worried about him going in. With that said, though, and no one's talking about this because everyone's just showing the highlight of the finish. I actually thought in the first round it was the best Ellenberger I had seen in years. He
yeah. So I think that mentally he might like have gotten it together. I think that was a lot of his problem, but
Yeah, it
it
was
might be
mental.
too little. It might be too little, too late. Like I know the guy knocks people out, but Ellenberger hadn't showed a great chin lately anyway, and I mean, the more you get knocked out, the worse it's going to be. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like maybe he's probably going to get cut, and maybe he needs to so he can work fighting his easier competition if he's going to keep fighting and then maybe come back potentially. I don't know, but I mean, it was pretty bad. The ending was pretty bad.
Right. So, for those who didn't see the fight, the first round, Jake I thought was doing everything he needed to do. He was he was circling. He was moving away. He wasn't standing right in front of Perry. He was jabbing. He was kicking. He looked good. I was like, oh wow, he was kind of like basically doing what Joe Bond did to Perry when he fought him. You just stay on the
Yeah,
outside and picking him
yeah.
apart,
He had a
and
good plan. It just,
like he
you
looked
know,
good. And then the second round happened, and Perry threw like a leaping left hook, which dropped him. And when he went to get back up, they went in the clinch, and I noticed this on the replay. Perry's corner is screaming for him to throw an elbow, and Ellenberger goes to throw an elbow at the same time, except Perry's lands first, and
mhm.
it's instantly out.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, I guess with the knockout power Perry has, and with Ellenberger seeming kind of chinny, especially lately, I
mhm.
just feel like he would have had to have like a perfect fight and not made a single mistake to win. And all it took was one, and he got knocked out.
Right. So the only thing I would say he could have done differently in the fight was take Perry down, grapple with him, get his
Yeah,
arms tired.
I was kind
So
of surprised he didn't,
yeah, to
at
take
least
away that
try.
punching power.
Yeah.
So
Oh well.
that fight was crazy. All right. So next fight.
They were all pretty good,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Well,
Good.
we'll get there. So
Yeah, yeah,
Joe Lozon against Stevie Ray. So this was kind of a weird fight because the first round was so one sided for Joe.
yeah.
Took him down and just beat the crap out of him. And even Brian Stan was like saying he thought it was a 10-8. And then after that, the second round, Joe seemed like he had like maybe gassed out, like he went too crazy in the first.
Yeah, like he wanted to finish in the first round.
Right,
Yeah.
and then in the third, he was completely like he was just defensive, and that's when Stevie kind of stole the fight by just showing the judges that that he wanted to win. Like he was chasing him, swinging. He was more
So
active.
what did you think? You think it could have potentially been a draw? Because, like you said, the first round is
Okay,
arguably so one-sided. It could have potentially been a draw. I think.
right. So what happened is they I'm gonna turn you up a little. Um, so not all the judges gave Lozon a 10-8.
Right, obviously.
Someone posted, but then the same judges that didn't give him a 10-8 gave Stevie Ray a 10-8 in the third.
Which
So
is ridiculous.
so much inconsistency on the scorecard that of course people are like, what in the world? Um,
Right.
to me, I could see Stevie winning a split if they had both got 10-8s and then he won the second round, or or a draw. So it did. I'm okay with him winning it just because it kind of remind me of even though they don't judge it this way, like Pride, they judge the fight as a
Yeah,
whole.
who won the whole fight kind of
And
deal.
towards the end, if the fight kept going, like clearly Stevie was the one who had more energy. Joe was completely tired and he was just defensive. So
Well, it
if you just look
was
at,
a majority decision, right? Which means I think one of the judges must have had a draw then.
yeah, that's what
So
happened.
yeah, okay.
So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the decision. I just when I seen the scorecard, I thought it was weird how they were very inconsistent with the 10-8s.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much par for the
Yeah,
course.
that's why they say don't leave it to the judges, basically.
Anyway, yeah,
Okay,
when the
so
motto of your sport is "Don't leave it in the hands of the judges," something needs to be fixed. But whatever.
right. Okay, so next fight is Dotson versus Eddie Wineland. This fight,
Yeah, Eddie did actually. Okay, I didn't record in the preview episode, but I'm gonna say this. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I would have stuck my foot in my mouth on this. Because I've thought Eddie has looked pretty bad and washed up for a couple of years now, and he looked pretty damn good. Like he did better than I thought he was gonna do against Dotson. Honestly, like
okay,
I mean, I know what happened. I know Dotson still won, but like I
so
figured Dotson was gonna destroy him, and he didn't really.
right, so the way I would break down this fight is Eddie had the height and reach advantage, and he didn't use it. He didn't
Yeah,
throw a single kick, and all he threw was feints of a jab, and he was basically wanting to counter Dotson when Dotson came in, but Dotson was just too fast for him to counter. And so what
right.
you seen was him fighting very defensively, and then Dotson, yeah, just he. Dotson wasn't really trying to finish him, but at the same time, because Brian Stan was kind of being critical of Dotson, uh,
Yeah.
but I'm like, well, when you're fighting a guy who's not given any openings, who's just really defensive, it's way harder to finish a guy. Uh, Example I would use is maybe Anderson Silva against Damian Maia, when Damian Maia was just would not open up.
Yeah, no. Let's not even get into that
Well,
BS. I don't buy that. Was that
what
no?
I'm saying though is if someone is running at you or swinging, they leave openings for you to counter or catch them. And
Yeah,
Eddie
sure.
just didn't do it against Dotson. He just played very
Well,
defensively.
Eddie just went into that fight and this was like, I'm not getting knocked out.
That's what. Yeah,
Simple
okay,
as
so the best way I would sum up the fight is Eddie fought not to get knocked out, and so that's why he didn't win because he didn't fight to
right,
win.
and it's why he didn't get knocked out.
This is true. But
So
people being
mission
critical of
accomplished in
Dotson,
that
I mean,
regard.
by the third round, there was no reason for him to change or do anything differently. He was winning every round, just playing it safe and just being quicker and honestly just being more busy. Like Eddie threw, I
Yeah,
just couldn't believe he didn't throw any kicks. Like he had the reach advantage and didn't take, like he didn't do anything with it. It just blew my mind. But like it was so obvious he
He
didn't.
still did better than I thought, despite the.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he survived.
yeah, basically.
Okay, so next fight, OSP.
Yeah,
So,
what a finish, right?
right? So, well, okay, so I thought OSP lost the first round because he was just being defensive,
I thought so too. I was like,
and
whoa, he's down.
yeah, there's OSP was eating a bunch of leg kicks too.
And what's
So,
his name? Lima, did he fall?
yeah,
I've seen him fight like once, and I was kind of like, whoa, this guy's beating OSP right now. Like,
right.
yeah,
So the guy didn't make weight, so OSP got part of his purse.
right, right. Which
Um,
is something that, I mean, I don't know. At light heavyweight, you have to miss by a lot. I feel like for it to be
mhm,
super relevant.
right.
You know?
So in this fight, I was leery of OSP coming off of the Jimmy Manawa fight because
Yeah,
he got knocked out. But
yeah.
no one talks about this. But in the Manawa fight, I don't know if it's just because he got hurt, but his movement, he had none. Like
It was non-existent,
he
right?
just stood right in front of him. So I wonder, to this day, I wonder if he had an injury going into that fight and just didn't say anything. Because if you watch the way he fought in that fight to any of his fights, he's way more mobile. Um, like, okay, he was in the same position where he caught Shogun coming in at him.
Right.
Like, he just moved out the way and hit him. With Jimmy, he didn't move at all. He just stood there and just started
He
eating punches.
he did better against John friggin' Jones
To this day,
than Manua.
like,
Manua, as I call him.
Manawa.
Manua, bro.
So, to this day, like I would be a conspiracy theorist and just say I think he went in that fight with an injury because his movement, like something must have been wrong with his legs because he
I
wasn't
mean,
moving.
maybe
And
Alex Jones. I don't know.
and then in in this fight though, he looked like old, like the OSP I'm used to seeing. He moved around, and then when he got to the ground, the submission he did. So he was either in side control or half guard, and the way he did it was basically the way they explained it was like his shoulder over the neck is
Yeah,
what the choke
called a
was.
Von Flue choke, which I think I've seen in like one other fight.
It was I was
It's
impressed.
been years though. It's
I
been
was
years.
impressed for him to come back from a devastating loss. I know this guy isn't a top 10 fighter,
Right.
but the guy still was dangerous. He was trying to finish OSP,
Yeah.
so he fought smart. He did what he had to do to win. So
Well, in that second round, and when you get up against a guy that's not ranked and you're a ranked guy, you're supposed to kind of have a showcase finish,
right.
and that's what he got. So I mean, he got what. I mean, honestly, that's what the match was set up for. And
And you know what?
that's
I
what
kind of
happened.
wish the
So
UFC would do this more often. Because segue into the next fight.
yeah, well,
Raging Al against Diego. I kind of feel like Diego needs.
Diego got that because
At the
he's getting
same
paid a
time
lot
though,
of money
Al
from
had been
big
out what a
fans.
year or two, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was a lot of questions about both of them going into this fight.
okay, so in the prediction, I said the fight would depend on what Diego showed up and if he could take the same punches he used to, and
And yeah,
clearly he couldn't.
cannot. No, he cannot.
He cannot. Yeah, I mean, his style is he does get hit, and the older he gets and the more damage, that great chin he used to have is going to eventually go away. And what you're seeing is people hitting him, and maybe 5 years ago he would have ate it and just looked at him, but he can't do that anymore.
I'm
Um,
surprised he's lasted this long, and I don't mean that like I'm saying he sucks or something. Like I mean that like utmost sincerity. Like he's been in the UFC since 2005. Like he's taken a lot of beatings,
is there
even
a
in fights he
fight
won. Even in fights he won, he's taken like a lot of damage, and
other
that's
than
unreal.
Vitor? Is there another fighter in the UFC that's been fighting as long?
Uh, put me on the spot here. I have to think
I
about
mean,
that one.
he's got to be up there though. Like he's
Maybe Frank Mir that just got suspended.
so he's been around forever, and in
Yeah,
all
oh
his
five. He's
fights,
from the original. I think he's the only original Ultimate Fighter left.
yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so or if you look at Koscheck, who should be done too,
Well, only one
uh,
left in the UFC.
UFC, yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, all his fights he takes damage, and at this point, I'm kind of worried about his health. Like
yeah,
8, 10 years from now, when like all the side effects from all those blows to the head start to surface,
sure.
because
I think it's the way he got knocked out. I mean, I don't like what's left. He's not close enough to the title picture to be like a serious contender for
yeah,
that.
when you really think about it, as long as
Like,
he's fighting and where he's ranked, what what are the reasons for him to keep fighting?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, other than money,
at this point though, the money's not worth it.
yeah.
They're not
I don't
paying him
know.
that much.
I mean, unless he just wants to go out against like another older guy or something. Like, I don't know. Who really? That's a young division though, so it's gonna be hard to do. Like, I don't know, man. I think that I think that's about it. That's a kind of a wrap. If his chin's gone, he doesn't really have much left to fall back on.
You know, we say this, but his last fight, I thought he looked great.
He
He,
did.
but it
I
might have
mean,
just been a matchup. You
Chuck
know,
looked great before he got knocked out by Rich Franklin, though. So I don't know.
it's true.
Once that chin goes, it's gone. You don't get that back. No.
So before we go to the next fight, we got to talk about Raging Al. You know what? I want him to change his name to just Al the Realtor, because in the post fight he was just like, trying to sell a house, call me.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And then like, did you see his tweets?
I've seen some of them.
Yeah, he go look. The people watching, go look up his tweets. What he tweeted to UFC, because he didn't get any bonuses.
Yeah, he
I
was
don't
kind of
think
pissed
Perry
off
got
about
one
that.
either, which is crazy. Neither one of them got knockout bonus.
Yeah. And I mean, he laid Diego Sanchez out in the first round. Like, how many times has that been done? BJ Penn couldn't even
Dude,
do
after being gone for so long too, though.
it. Yeah, yeah.
So much for
That's
ring rust. Breaking
right.
that theory.
He looks good. I'm curious to see what his next fight is after this.
You know what? I forgot about him fighting Masvidal.
Yeah, it's been a while
Like
back.
because as soon as they showed clips, I remembered like people kind of being upset because he won it, but people kind of thought Masvidal won. It was a
Right.
close fight, but that win actually looks really good now that Masvidal's moved up to welterweight and beat Cowboys. So like, it just makes Al's record look better in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. It does.
All right. So the main event. Main event kind of went how I thought it would go. Like I knew Artem had a chance of catching him, but if
Yeah.
he didn't, Cub should have shown his experience, which I think he did. And not only that, everyone's just kind of talking about how Cub was dominant, but
Not really.
in the first round, Artem looked way better.
I thought
He
going. Okay, I agree. In the first round, I thought Artem won that round.
Oh yeah, not only did he
And
win it, but he was landing more strikes. But what ended up happening was after the first, Artem either he slowed down or Cub picked up his pace, because it seemed like the pace
well,
Cub was
especially by
putting
the
on
third.
Artem
Yeah.
was not. That's not the pace he fights at.
Okay.
So
Well, the third round obviously was probably Cubs' best round in the whole fight. He kind of like he hurt him. He had Artem hurt. Kind of like I just remember watching it and I was
we
thinking,
gotta talk
oh
about
no.
this though, man. Artem's got a chin.
Yeah. Well, this is what
He's
that's
eating
kind of
head
what I was
kicks.
getting to. He got whooped in the third round, like barely got out of it. And then I'm like, well, the momentum shifted. But then the fourth round came out, and in my opinion, Artem had his best round since the first. Like, he came out like fast out the gate in the fourth round and started connecting. And I mean, before that round ended, I felt like the momentum had kind of shifted back to Cub, like within the last maybe 2 minutes of that round, and Artem never really got it back. But I don't know. Considering how far apart they are, like ranking wise, they didn't seem that far apart in the cage.
I think some of that was just because it was a striking match. If Cub had
Maybe
chose
so.
to grapple more, he actually probably could have got Artem more tired and maybe finished him. But if he was fighting at a pace higher enough to where he was landing more strikes to win, but he wasn't fighting at a pace that Artem couldn't like keep up. If that makes any sense, like Artem was keeping
Yeah,
up, he just
yeah.
was behind, but he
All
wasn't
I
in a
know,
situation where he was going to get finished.
I can say this much for sure that every time Cub Swanson gets a win, he has like this. It's like this weird fan base. It's like Cub looks good. He was dominant, and I'm just like, I'm just not on the hype train, man. I never will be. Every time he starts getting on a run, people start talking about him being a contender, and I'm like, he'll lose. Like he gets to the top and he loses, and maybe he'll win the belt and prove me wrong. I don't know, but like
I will say this:
I'm not on the
he
Cub
asked for the
train.
winner of Aldo and Holloway, and
I don't think he beats either one of them. So
the thing is, he asked for them. He fought Super Korean Superboy and Artem,
yeah,
and other than him, we have Frankie and Yair who are about to fight.
yeah. And I think
So,
that all of them would be Cubs. So
so what I would say is some of that depends on what happens. Like if
sure,
so
sure.
like let's say Otto and Frankie win, are they
Yeah, they're
really
not
going
good
to
enough
have
to
another one? I think Cub gets his rematch.
maybe so.
If Yair beats Frankie, then I think he skips Cub because
Yeah, it's
even
hard to
though
argue
he
against.
beat old BJ, I wouldn't count that. But Frankie, to me, other than Aldo and Holloway, like he's the top. He's the top guy in that
And I mean, it
division.
just looks good. The back-to-back wins are former champions. So
This is true. They're
and
bigger name.
Frankie's still good.
They're bigger
Like,
names than
yeah.
Artem and Korean Superboy, which you know.
Neither guy's ranked. So BJ's name carries weight just because of his name. At the past, and then Frankie's like arguably the third best guy at featherweight. Probably not even arguably, he probably is. Maybe
Well, it's
second.
because since
So
him and Holloway haven't fought, I would just
yeah,
put them both in second under
sure,
Aldo until really the Holloway fight. It just depends on what happens when he fights Aldo.
sure.
But
But anyway,
well, so before we end the episode, you weren't on the predictions, but I mentioned this on the fight night. See, a lot of people were talking about Artem not really belonging there. And I mean, to me, he held his own in the fight. I think he showed that he belonged in there. The
yeah, I do
only
too.
the only problem I had was how Artem and Cub, not so much Cub, but more Artem, is main event on a fight night, and the week before was a fight night, and it was Mighty Mouse. So for
Yeah,
me, I'm just kind of like annoyed at like when people say Mighty Mouse does bad uh, numbers. I'm like, well, you're putting him in the same like Artem just had the same type of like
well, Mighty Mouse was
position.
on big clocks though, and this was an FS1 card, so that's not quite the same.
But you know what I mean? It was like a free fight though. Like it wasn't a
Yeah,
pay-per-view. So to
they don't really
me,
promote Mighty Mouse either, and I think part of it is look. I don't want to turn this episode into Mighty Mouse at the end here, but frankly, if Mighty Mouse wants the big paychecks and the big money, he has to go up
he's
in
got to
weight.
move up. Yeah, we
You know,
mentioned this in previous
the
episode.
reason no one cares is because he's not beating anybody anyone's heard of.
Right. That or
So I mean,
he's not talking trash. He's too
like,
nice.
yeah, and he's not talking trash. And, you know,
I'm
because
fine with him not
he's
talking trash though.
so, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
Not
I like
everyone
him.
be the
He
same.
don't. To me, I don't think he has to be something he's not.
No, he doesn't. It would be fake. I don't know if that
Right.
would work, but he's got to go up to bantamweight. I think a fight against any of the top, former champs or the current champ would be a big fight. So if he fought Cruz Dillashaw or Cody, I think any fight's a big fight. So
Yeah, especially if he beats him.
yeah, especially. I mean, if he wants, it's like he said he's the greatest. He thinks he's the greatest of all time. You got to prove it. You're gonna have to. I mean, people said Anderson, since we've mentioned, since you've already brought up that disgraceful display, like it could defend anything. But Anderson's title reign, people call weak, but he still fought guys like Rich Franklin and Dan Henderson. So,
Well,
you
that's the
know,
whole thing. See, when people mention Mighty Mouse, when they're trying to mention him as the greatest, they need to just say for right now he is the most complete fighter because he finishes on the feet, in the clinch, wrestling, submissions. Say that. Don't compare him to people whose careers
look,
like he's still
he's,
going. Let's
I'm
wait.
comfortable. I'm very comfortable with saying he's the greatest flyweight of all time.
Oh yeah, because he's the only champ. Well, here's a
But
point.
yeah,
Point I would make though is like since he's the only champ in that division, it's kind of too early to be given these titles. Wait till we can compare it to other champs. That division doesn't even have another one.
right.
And also the biggest problem with him is compared to people like GSP, Anderson, and even John Jones, they all fought former champs because their division was older.
Even Fedor, man, has the same defense on that argument. Like, he doesn't have the argument like any of the people that you have like even a fringe argument for being the greatest. Because you could make an argument even for Hendo. I think might not think it's true, but you could make it, and it's like a legitimate argument. Like Mighty Mouse beat who? Like you saying, he hasn't knocked out, finished, like hasn't won against another champion.
Yeah, I mean, the people he's
So
beaten aren't as accolade.
I mean,
Like they don't.
Benavidez and Dotson are his two biggest rivals in his
Now, if Dotson
ranking.
becomes champ in
Yeah, yeah.
bantamweight, then yeah, then you
I
can
don't think it
say,
much though.
hey, he beat this guy twice, who's whooping these other people.
You
But
know
until
who?
that happens,
You know who Mighty Mouse's reign has made the legacy of look really good? Dominic Cruz.
no kidding.
Anyway, I think that's about all I got on this.
Yeah, I think we kind of went off topic, but
We got a little greatest of all time argument, which maybe we should do an episode on sometime.
yeah, we'll see if anyone even watched this long. So that's what we thought about this event. What'd you think? Agree, disagree? Let us know in the comments below. Also, let us know if you have any ideas on other topics for different episodes because we don't have to just do predictions and recaps. We can also talk about some other
Yeah, we've been
topics
talking about
related.
doing some different kind of one-off topics and stuff. So
All right. See y'all next time.
sure, I'd wave, but